So talk a little bit about MySQL and MariaDB. We certainly know that both of them were your babies, right?
Yeah.
And of course, they have a different trajectory so far. And what do you see? What do you see the road coming from here? Going forward, let's say 5 years down the road, what's going to happen?
Yes. So my biggest fear was when Oracle announced that they wanted to buy Sun, and they said that one of the main reasons they wanted to buy Sun was to get their hands on MySQL. They told that to the European Commission. Mm-hmm. And I was pretty sure that the main reason they would buy MySQL was to stop the loss of customer that MySQL has caused them. I'm pretty sure that they lost several billions of dollars just because MySQL existed. And I don't see any logic. Why should they continue to develop MySQL if they're losing so much money?
Exactly.
And I'm reasonably sure that if I wouldn't have created MariaDB, they would have stopped developing MySQL much sooner. But they have done a reasonable job for many years to actually keep up development in some sense. They removed some features that was already done that they thought was could cause problem for the enterprise. For example, we already had, when they bought MySQL, we had full backup working for storage engine, we had foreign key working for storage engine. Oracle did forbid Sun to release those. And during the years, they have avoided a lot of features that they have in Oracle because, of course, they don't want to reduce Oracle sales. And now, with MySQL 9 just being released a few weeks ago, suddenly there's no new features. And I have heard rumors from internal of MySQL that they are only allowed to add new great innovative features to MySQL Heatwave, which is closed source, not MySQL. So I think that this is the storm before the end. And in this case, I'm still happy that I'm still working on MariaDB, and we have that because that gives users an easy choice to move, because it's really easier to move to MariaDB from MySQL to any other database. So I'm still fulfilling my promise of ensuring that there is always a free database that is not expensive, free for most, that they can use. And that's what I wanted to do in the first place.
So that, I mean, the whole story around Oracle, if I were to use one word to summarize it, is capitalist.
Yeah.
It's all about capitalists, right? I mean, and what you have done in MySQL and MariaDB is, can I also summarize it in socialism? Can I do that?
A little bit. I mean, so I did make some money for myself and everybody else who was part of creating my MySQL and doing the same with MariaDB. But I still love the idea that what we are doing is that we do sell licenses or actually support and some commercial products. But for the biggest part is that what we do, 100,000 paying is a great thing.
Yeah.
And for most people, and for actually creating a company who can be worth some billions, actually that is enough. It is like in Finland, we pay high taxes, but schools are free.
Yeah.
Universities cost almost nothing. And even if I sometimes grieve about the high taxes, I really like the fact that we enable lots of other people to have education so they can succeed.
So coming back to the open source you can call it a movement, you can call it a ideology even. Oftentimes, when I talk to friends in China, a lot of the Chinese companies, especially the software or database field, they're struggling on their open source strategy.
That's
because
true.
because a lot of companies see open source as a way or as a means to lure customers or to build a ecosystem
Yeah.
or to generate leads
Yeah.
to increase sales.
But
But what is open source to you? Sounds like you have a very different.
if you look at just from a technology point of view, I believe open source is a better way to produce software because an entrepreneur or a programmer who is building something, he has a vision, and with software you're going to solve a problem, and let's say we try to solve this problem. If you would be alone, you would just try to do this and focus totally on that. When you open source and you get input from there and there and there, especially you get code that solves that problem and that problem and that problem, you suddenly get a product that is much more elastic, can do much more.
Yeah.
And also you have the people who are enthusiastic about it, help it spread it. So you get a much bigger opportunity to do much more with less resources. And that's what I love with open source.
And you inspire a lot of people to contribute.
Yeah, but I also love the fact that I'm helping people. So I'm constantly on forums, and if I see somebody a problem with MariaDB, I spend some time and trying to help them. And I don't do that for marketing or anything else. I actually see that somebody's using my product and have a problem. That means that either there's a bug, there's a failure, or we just haven't documented things properly. And I fix all of those, including documentation. It's quite often documentation is not clear enough. But still, I help somebody and people are happy. And so that I do on a personal scale, and when I go to conferences and talk and solve problems for customers, I do the same thing on a larger scale.
But on that point, do you think that you were super lucky even at the beginning of the open source of either MySQL or MariaDB? Because a lot of the Chinese companies, when they form a company and when they are talking about their open source strategy, I think one of the main criteria is, how do we survive, right? In this market, how do we survive? We have 20 people, 20 developers are building the code, and our main goal is to sell the product and making money and support all these people, but we were not doing well on selling our products. So let's open source it, so that more people knew about our products or having a trial. And then we can talk about them. Hey, you're using our version, open source version. And do you know we have a premium version that you can do even better? Why don't you pay some money on? So that's a lot of people are thinking that way, that's what I'm saying, using open source as a, community building or awareness, way of getting awareness, spread the words, or building the first customer base, or things like that, instead of because they were challenged on the first initial investment or initial funding.
Yeah, so that's completely right. The thing is that lots of people go in and make open source without understanding the consequences or how we will earn money after that.
Exactly.
Open core is where you have two versions. Open source version that has limited functionality, at least in some sense, and then another one who has the extra you believe that the premium customers are prepared to pay for. And personally, I don't like open core at all. I understand that business do that, and for some business, it's probably really the right idea. But as a user, I hate it, because that means that I like the freedom of using open source.
Yeah.
Nobody can take it away. It will work for me today, tomorrow, and forever.
Yeah.
With an open core product, if the company doesn't succeed or start and stops producing the product, or go under, or decide to do something else, suddenly I have a product that I can't use anymore.
Yeah.
Because I'm depending on disclosures.
Yeah, I have systems relying on these
Yeah.
products.
So currently I'm advising entrepreneurs who are deciding that should we go open source or not, saying that don't do open source. Do instead a license that I created called BSL. And it's kind of like open source.
SPL.
BSL.
BSL, okay.
A business source license.
Okay.
And the idea with that one is that you give out all your code under basically not under open source initially, but under a commercial license. You say that you can use it freely in every way except in these 3 conditions. And then you put some conditions that you think that will allow most people to use it for free. Mm-hmm. But those who want to pay, you say that in these conditions you can't pay. For example, if you have a car, you say that you can drive more than 50 kilometers a day. Mm. And most people will be happy to get a free car for
right.
That. But the trick is here that you say that after 3 years, all this code will be GPL. You can use it any way you want. So then you have the choice that you use the GPL version, who is 3 years old, or you want to use the new version under some restrictions,
yes,
or you buy the full version. Mm-hmm. But the benefit compared to the open core is that if the company goes away, that means that I have still to pay a license somewhere for 3 years. But after that, it's like open source. Mm-hmm. So you never have to be afraid that you can continue using the software. That's the big difference. Mm-hmm. So I think that this is a good enough license that is kind of between open source and closed source, a hybrid, but it allows people to invest into your company if they believe that you have so much innovation going on that you can continue evolve your product every year. For example, like the great camera you have. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But still, you can be true to the open source. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm advocating.
So you're giving people, but as a selected people, the assurance that they can always rely on the software for free.
Yeah,
right.
After some years, because for the first 3 years they have to pay.
Oh,
because
okay.
they want to use the premium version.
Okay, but if they don't want to use the premium version, they can use that for free, right? Like
the smaller version that doesn't have, as long as you are not in this restriction. In this case, for example, you are only driving the car 60 kilometers a day, then you can use it for free.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you have always the option to pay, and if you put these knobs right, you can get enough free users who are happy to use your product. You get to select the customer that have to pay, because the whole thing with open source, you can never create a sustainable company that actually can grow and compete with the big ones if you don't have some part of your customers that has to pay. You can't trust them that they will pay by the good heart, because capitalism, no way.